you're going to raise $40 million and build this new building? Like, come on, good luck.
We're committed to its success, so we're invested big.
It's kind of a physical, we did this. We were part of this.
I never asked people for money. I asked them if they wanted to make an investment.
It was right from the beginning. It was a lot of fun. You know, it's so exciting to be on the ground floor of a great venture like that.
Magical things happen here.
I didn't have an idea that I wanted to do it. I had an idea that I had to do it.
Hi everybody, I'm Alexandra Morgan, CEO of Family House. We are opening the new Nancy and Stephen Grand Family House at Mission Bay, thanks to all of you. Your generous support, your time and talent, and especially all of the teamwork that went into this new building is what has made this new home a reality. We know that we're doing something special for people at the most stressful time in their lives. So we'd really like to highlight some of the key people who made this amazing new home a reality. And I think the first person who's appropriate to start with is Dr. Ablin.
Well, Family House really didn't start by itself. There was a terrific need because children who have cancer can't be taken care of in their local community, and they have to be taken care of in a child's cancer center. So they have to travel great distances from their homes in order to receive treatment. So people were ending up, parents were ending up sleeping in the waiting rooms, or more importantly, they were sleeping in their cars. We had to find a place for people. We had to cure their children with cancer, and we had to find a place for them to stay while we were doing it.
Our older son had a tumor that was diagnosed when he was about 12 months old. So we saw Dr. Ablin.
You know, his vision for wanting to expand, it resonated with us. There are so many good ideas in the world. A lot of them just remain ideas. They don't get done. And he's a doer. Fortunately, I had a friend who was a Mormon who told me that the Mormon Church was considering selling a piece of property right across the street from the hospital. They sold us that first house for $1,000 down. We had no money, we had no organization.
They were finding their way, so it was more of a mom and pop kind of a thing, you know. Everybody pitched in and cleaned and scrubbed and did what needed to be done.
So by now everybody knew that Dr. Ablin and others had a great idea in the formation of Family House. Certainly a dedicated group of volunteers, but any good idea needs substantial funds to make it a reality. Fortunately, the McKesson Foundation was among the first to really step forward.
McKesson wanted to make a contribution to the initial Family House because they understood that this is all about healthcare, and that by having a safe and nurturing place for families, that would really help in the child's dealing with their illness.
Hannah did extremely well in her treatments, and I think a lot of it is because Mom and Dad and sister were there. When we finally heard about Family House, was like, oh my God, I hope we get in. I mean, I don't mean to overstate it, but I don't want to understate it. But effectively, we were refugees, and we needed a place to be able to push that code and shut the door behind you. It's like, whew, home.
So just like David's family, there were many, many others who needed rooms, but with just 10 bedrooms at the Irving Street Family House, the demand far exceeded the inventory of rooms available.
We were still turning as many people away as we were having, so we had to find more property. And we searched for many years until we found the second property at 10th Avenue. We got that house, and then we got to thinking, well, the university is planning to move to Mission Bay. We better get busy and get closer to the hospital.
So that meant we had to launch a major capital campaign, and fortunately board member Ann Finnegan and her husband Paul introduced us to the Kalmanovitz Foundation.
It was Ann's idea. She felt the timing was right, the opportunity was right to approach a good friend of ours who was also a trustee of the Kalmanovitz Foundation, Bernie Orsi. And it resulted in a pledge by the Kalmanovitz Foundation in early 2011 for $4 million. And that was really the first major contribution for the capital campaign which kicked it off.
This type of project requires an adequate launching gift, which will in turn do two things. One, provide the seed money to get the project going, and secondly, to give it credibility so that others will participate in the fundraising as well.
Now we had some money to work with, but the next task at hand was finding a piece of property in Mission Bay, which, trust me, was no small feat. In fact, we even considered Plan B.
Not moving was definitely an option, and keeping the existing houses and having a shuttle service. We looked at buying an existing building, which in the immediate neighborhood really wasn't an option. I think we all knew at the time that building a new building would be the preferred solution, but finding a piece of property was a real challenge.
So Family House had identified a piece of land that they were interested in acquiring in Mission Bay, just a few blocks from the new hospital. And it should have been a plain vanilla real estate deal, except that the land had been controlled by the San Francisco Redevelopment Agency. It was right at that time that a combination of Governor Brown's legislative actions and the court's decisions had dissolved redevelopment agencies. And so it took a fair amount of maneuvering and a significant amount of time.
So this wasn't a traditional land transaction with the city. It was complicated, and it took a lot of work with the city agencies and a lot of pushback.
You know, I think Family House's heart was always in this piece of property, and we're just delighted when we were able to resurrect it.
Until you have a place to build your new building, like most donors who are serious aren't going to really give you much consideration. We were fortunate that our first gift was a pretty major gift from the Kalmanovitz Foundation for $4 million, and that really got us in our capital campaign off on the right foot. But then we were going, donor to donor and just kind of, reaching out to our existing donor base.
The grants that Mr. Bechtel's Foundation were making to Family House were very generous, but they were, I think, in the $50,000 range for annual grants. So the $1 million gift that we made to the building was obviously was quite substantial. Because when you do a capital campaign, you need larger donations than just the annual giving.
We have all learned more about new market tax credits than anybody ever wanted to know. However, it saved us a great deal of time and effort in fundraising because it really provided us with a nice pot of money.
My primary role was to manage the new market tax credit process, which is dental surgery times 5. After you go through a lot of pain, you end up netting out a few $1 million in our case directly towards the building of our building.
Everybody was talking about the new project. We were talking to everybody we knew, and thank God all that talk made its way to Nancy and Stephen Grant.
Sue Diamond kind of, I think, whispered into the Grand's ear at one point that, hey, this group that I'm working with, Family House, is doing a project that you guys might really find interesting. And so that led to their eventual commitment to be the naming sponsors for the new Family House.
We had been living here for 2 years, and I got diagnosed with a very, very, very challenging cancer. And it turned out that we had to spend a few weeks in the hospital. And every night we would see at the end of the hall a lounge filled with families, almost like camping out. They were, in fact, as the night went on, they were just all sprawled out on the floor. And then we found out that these were family members of kids that had cancer. Right then we said to ourselves, this isn't good, and if we get out of this mess, we'd like to do something to see if we can alleviate the situation. 6, 7 years later, we were having dinner with Sue Diamond, and Sue told us she was working on a project for Family House, and they were going to open a new facility. And Nancy and I immediately, said, that's what we've been waiting for.
It didn't take a night to decide that this was a project we wanted to be involved in. Our picture was, at night, these lounges in the hospital would be empty, and the family who wanted to be with their child could be with their child, and the rest of the family could be at Family House.
What Alexandra and I always talked about is, we'll build the building that we can afford. Once the Grands made their pledge, there was no doubt in my mind that they were going to be successful in raising the necessary money to get this building built.
How do we get to 40 million? We get there from everything from $10 checks and $50 checks. Some families who are staying at Family House have run their own, sort of mail-in where we're getting $1 from people and $5 from people, and every single person that gives is a part of this.
Now, all of our donors are rock stars, but we literally have rock stars who are donors, and that's the band Train, who give generously of their time, talent, and treasure. But I think even more importantly, the kids love them, and every time they come to the house, they're just thrilled. The visibility they've given us is just not anything we could ever have done on our own.
When we were looking for charities to get involved with, we wanted something that kind of resonated with us, which is we have children. I've had 2 children in the NICU of hospitals before. I know what it's like to be pretty scared and need some help.
In November 2015, I got a call in the middle of the night from Scott telling me that our newest best friend, Sean Eilers, had topped off the capital campaign and brought it to a close.
It's great. I mean, obviously they've done a phenomenal job raising money for the last 3 or 4 years, and it's unbelievable what they're going to be able to accomplish with that. So I'm, very little part of it. But yeah, it was great to be the last person.
$40 million did not come easily, but it was some small steps, a lot of small steps along the way, and then a couple of really big ones that helped bring it all together.
They've got a house that they own on land that they own. And that's a great thing for, you think of the thousands of families that will be staying here over the next several decades. It's a great thing.
We donated about 50 queen-size beds and about 150 twin extra long. So about 198 or something like that. The people who are sleeping on these mattresses will get a mattress that will not interfere with their sleep. I mean, they got a lot of reasons to have a bad night's sleep, but the mattress shouldn't be it.
We're making a big leap in the future. Instead of taking care of children just with cancer, we're going to take care of any child who comes to the University of San Francisco for medical care if they live more than 50 miles from San Francisco.
And the new Family House at Mission Bay, just where it is next to this new hospital in Mission Bay, which is such a vibrant area with who knows if the Warriors come there, you got AT&T Park. It's a bigger presence, if you will, in the community. I think it'll increase our endowment, our financial stability going forward.
We see the goal over the next 5 years is to raise enough money to create an endowment fund so the staff can concentrate on what they need to concentrate on, which are the families, instead of having to concentrate on raising money.
And one of the things we're actually working on now at the board level is charting out a plan for the next 2, 3, 5 years. So it'll be a great challenge, but we've got some incredible minds already at work on it. The possibilities are pretty limitless.
The building's up, the doors are open, we're welcoming new families, and we're very excited about what lies ahead at the new Nancy and Stephen Grand Family House.